I personally think of Buddhism as a very reasonable religion. And I think that is precisely the reason why it doesn't appeal to some people. There are people who like everything very extreme and very exaggerated and like to be carried away by their feelings. But that isn't really the style of Buddhism. It wasn't the style of the historical Buddha. From all that we know about him, we know that he was a very reasonable person. He was prepared to talk, to discuss, prepared to listen. He didn't threaten and fulminate. He just tried to convince people by purely reasonable, purely rational means. Sometimes I'm asked about the intolerance of Christianity, but it's not a question of the intolerance simply of Christianity. I think it's a question of the intolerance of that whole group of religions, which we call the Semitic religions, Judaism, Islam, and Christianity. They all have a very pronounced streak of intolerance, and that would seem to me to be tied up very often with the idea of one God who is a jealous God, who doesn't like people to worship other gods, who wants to be the only God, and that inevitably leads to intolerance. There's quite a few well-meaning Christians nowadays who would like to forget the past, who'd like to forget the medieval past, who'd like to forget that centuries ago people were burned at the stake, in their thousands even, in the name of Christianity, in the name of Christ, with the full blessing and approval of the Catholic Church. But in my view, we can't really forget those things ourselves and not allow Christians to forget those things themselves, because the basic doctrinal assumptions of Christianity are there. And at rock bottom, Christianity is still a quite dogmatic religion. And I personally believe that if circumstances were to change, if certain churches at least were to get back the secular power that they had some centuries ago, they would start behaving in much the same way again. When I speak of basic doctrinal assumptions, I mean things like the divinity of Christ and the fact that Christ is the only Savior. I remember on one occasion I had a talk with a missionary, and he told me to my face that I'd be going straight to hell. Not only that, but I'd be going to a worse hell, if there is a worse hell, because not only had I gone astray myself by being a Buddhist, I'd led others astray by teaching Buddhism.